Every 10 years in this country, we have a census. The Constitution says we have to. It's so the Kenyan usurper president can better plan to round up all the Republicans and put them in prison camps. Sorry, I accidentally swapped my notes for a Michelle Bachmann transcript. Actually, the Constitution says we have to have a census every 10 years, in part so we can make sure the government is still representative. We use census data to figure out how many members of Congress each state gets, for example. And every 10 years, we use census data to redraw the districts from which we elect our members of Congress. Now, that should just be a technocratic, totally apolitical thing about making sure our Congress still accurately represents our people. But of course it isn't. What actually happens is the party in power draws weird, crazy lines on maps in order to give themselves an advantage on Election Day, grouping mostly Republican or mostly Democratic voters together to make that district an easy race for their party for the next decade. Behold the results of gerrymandering. The 4th district in Illinois, that makes sense. How about Florida's 22nd district? Oh, right, that's the obvious place to put it. Oh, and how about Arizona's 2nd district? Really? But in Arizona recently, voters decided they wanted to change all of this. They no longer wanted whichever party happened to be in power when redistricting takes place to have so much influence over drawing those lines. So in 2000, Arizona, in its wisdom, passed Prop 106, also known as Fair Districts, Fair Elections. Prop 106 said the state legislature would no longer have the authority to draw the districts. Instead, an independent commission would do the job. 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and an independent, putting power, quote, in the hands of a politically neutral commission of citizens who are not active in partisan politics and who will serve without pay to create fair districts that are not gerrymandered for any party's or incumbent's advantage. Awesome. Now that the census is over, the Arizona Independent Redistricting Commission has been working on new district maps on behalf of the people of Arizona. They were about a month away from finishing their work. They have submitted a draft, which is not yet final. But here's the thing. Republican Governor Jan Brewer doesn't like their product. Republican Governor Jan Brewer so does not like what this commission has proposed or is in the process of proposing that last night in a special session called just for this purpose, get this, the Republican-controlled state Senate in Arizona gave the governor the vote she needed to fire the head of this supposedly independent commission.
It's a betrayal of the process that the voters wanted to see in place, because it's just bringing back very, very heavy political influence by the same legislature that we tried to take out of the process.
And the Republican majority in the Senate has voted unanimously to oust the chairwoman of the Redistricting Commission. She is Colleen Mathis, for what the governor says is creating a cloud of suspicion over the commission's work. Republicans don't like the way new maps were drawn, even though the maps do give them an advantage.
Republicans get an advantage from the new maps, but apparently that advantage was not enough of an advantage for the Republicans in Arizona. Governor Brewer is not actually even in Arizona while all this is happening. She is reportedly in New York this week promoting her book. This is the back cover of her book. Yes, that's real. That's supposed to be Jan Brewer. But even while on the road trying to live up to that lovely caricature, Governor Brewer took time away from her book tour to the independent commission voters in Arizona specifically created to take this kind of thing out of the hands of politicians like her, out of the hands of partisan politics altogether. Senate Democrats are calling the firing a witch hunt and a disgrace. In 2000, when Arizona was debating whether or not to pass Prop 106 in the first place, deciding whether or not to take this district drawing power away from the legislature, the people who supported the measure were groups like the League of Women Voters and the Arizona School Board Association. The people against it were Republican legislators. The voters and the independent good government groups won that fight to make this thing independent. They won the vote. They got that independent commission. And now Republicans have found a way to use their majority to kill it anyway. Joining us now is Arizona Congressman Raúl Grijalva, who is a Democrat who represents Arizona's 7th district. Congressman Grijalva, thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I know that actually neither Democrats nor Republicans are huge fans of Arizona's new proposed map from this redistricting commission, but isn't that what you'd expect from an independent panel working on this? Isn't that even sort of what you'd hope for?
Yeah, the voters approved this independent commission. It has not been a smooth process. It is, for those of us that are in office, it's been long and strenuous. But the fact of the matter is, it was created so that no majority in the legislature could feather their own nest. And while, you know, there is not 100% satisfaction, at least on my behalf, what is true is that what the governor did and the state senate did was, I think, potentially illegal, unconstitutional, and they did it in the middle with no time, no due process for the chair of the commission to be able to respond, and more importantly, it's a kangaroo court. This was all predetermined. This is to protect the 4 incumbent Republicans that are in Congress right now, to make sure that they have a district that secures them. And I really believe that what has been done here adds another very ugly and painful episode to the legacy that Jan Brewer and this legislature have provided to the nation about Arizona. That's not the people of Arizona, but certainly our political leadership in the state continues to try to muscle heavy-handed way of trying to direct politics and create a culture for the next 10 years that they will be able to control. I hope this is going to be fought by people in Arizona, because this is not what they voted for, 1. 2, the fact that it's been done the way it's been done, raw political power, heavy-handed, and apparently violating the very tenets of the Constitution that created this commission. This story's not over yet.
Arizona has done some smart things in terms of removing partisan advantage from either side from the political process. Some far-sighted political reforms, like public financing for elections in Arizona, which of course was struck down by the conservatives on the Roberts Supreme Court. An independent commission, this one outside partisan politics, to set its districts to stop gerrymandering, now seemingly blown up by the Republicans in the legislature. There seems to be a real difference here between what the voters of Arizona are saying that they want and what they are getting from the political process.
Yeah, regardless of the philosophical differences that exist in Arizona, and they do, this is a very populist state. This is a very independent-minded voter, and everything that has been done around public financing, the independent commission, and other reforms to enhance the ability for this democracy of ours to work, the Republican majority in the legislature and now the governor have gone out of their way to begin to undo what has been practices and referendums passed by the people that have worked for Arizona, and has leveled the playing field and provided opportunities for the voters of Arizona to elect people that represent their point of view. They're risking, I just think they're risking not only the reputation of Arizona, but the very democracy that the people of Arizona want.
Congressman Raúl Grijalva of Arizona, it's always a real pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
My pleasure.